how important is it for a filmmaker like you? Well, you've been in the film industry for a while. You're also a researcher, a journalist. How important is it to be part of TIFF 2020, including the question, please?
I mean, being part of TIFF is just such a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful for programmers for really recognizing this film and how it fits into our time, that we're living right now with like social media and all these conspiracies that are circling, and especially in such a tragic and difficult year for people and human lives, and then of course for the film industry as well, to have the opportunity for a world premiere TIFF has been great for my team and me.
So Sonia, why would you say that the most powerful quote unquote country in the world is scared of a kid who was working in a darkroom with his computer?
Well, the film is, it is about one singular story. It is one narrative, but, for me, when I started investigating it, it became quickly clear that there are all these deeper layers. So what I really hope is when audiences see this film, they will understand and sort of see what we saw during this investigation, what it means for the world we live in, how this film is a film about finding the truth and about the truth, and it's just becoming more and more complicated in this world today where we have just so much information, this information overflow, and it's being spread and replicated and over social media, and people are just commenting on everything, and it really for us as a film team, it was important to really dig into the story, find multiple perspectives, and try to get as close to the truth as possible.
What I loved about the film? Well, many things, but watching it, I felt like you put me in a position of a detective. In a way, I was investigating with you. How did you accomplish that?
Well, what I try to do with this film is really put the audience in our position, because when we started this investigation, we didn't know the outcome of it, and it's and it really for me as an investigative filmmaker, as a journalist, this also like almost became a teaching tool for our own work, because it just showed us don't just make up your opinion at the beginning of the story and then try to just film it and replicate it, but keep an open mind. I think human behavior, the human condition is it's very complicated, and that is what this film is really about, and so I feel for ourselves within the team. We had so many discussions and about this case ourselves, and it was a true investigation. We are disclosing in the film kind of the steps when we were able to uncover certain things, and yes, and we are disclosing that to the audience, and we I really wanted to take people on that same journey that we went on.
It's interesting and sad how the system of the government can destroy your life without proofs. I don't know, without proving it.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw, I've known about the story for quite a long time. I was actually doing, a film about the drone war, my last feature, National Bird, and that's when I first, I heard about the Matt DeHart story, and I actually started researching it, and I just thought, man, it's a rabbit hole, it's so complicated, and there's so many layers. And so I kind of, I put it in the back of my head, we finished National Bird, and then my production partner and I, we actually started a film on or researching US government torture. So that story was still on the back of our minds. And then when I dug back into it, I realized this is not just this has to be its own film. It's so complex, it's so multi-layered, you know, to really represent it in the right way, you know, I needed to have the time to tell the story.
Sonia, what do you think of the term hacktivism?
I was, you know, I've always been, you know, a little bit, you know, I wasn't sure and how far I could use it because I'm just not sure how many people know what it means. You know, so what I try to do in my filmmaking and my journalism is to really try to have a low barrier of entry. So it's really important to me not to, you know, make films for other filmmakers and journalists, but for a general audience. So, you know, I really see it as my goal to not speak up here, but really, you know, just like explain issues and you know, and bring information to the audience and also challenge them so they can, you know, think themselves. But in using certain terms like hacktivist, you know, I always like, I want to make sure that the audience, you know, knows the term, understands it. You know, it's a put together term. It's between hacker and activist, and it has a lot of sort of, you know, different meanings for different people, and but I try to actually with Gabriella Coleman, the anonymous expert in the film, she tries to explain it and you know, bring across what it is, what's anonymous, what's the dark web.
What's your relationship with the parents?
What it is or what it was?
What it is now after the film, or how did you develop that relationship? And
so I mean, you know, as you know, filmmakers, when you work on a feature film, you just spend, you know, you spend a lot of time with you know, the protagonist, the lead characters that you portray. So with the camera, without a camera, and so on. And yeah, you know, we've known each other for years, and we have, even when we stopped filming, my production partner Ines Hofmann-Kanner and I, we continued having conversations with the family, including Matt DeHart, even after, and I don't want to, you know, give away too much, but, you know, after we had scheduled the interview with him. And so yeah, we are, you know, talking to them, you know, every, I would say, you know, every few weeks or so, every few months, and yeah, and, you know, are in conversation with them, as we are with everyone else actually in the film. We are talking to everyone still.
What do you wish the impact of the film would be?
Well, I do, you know, it's when I first embarked on a story, it really, you know, to me, it spoke to me as a journalist and as an investigative filmmaker on so many different levels, because it, you know, it really, when we started, you know, interviewing the different interview partners, and they just were having such contradictory perspectives, and there was so much he said, she said, it really, like, to me, I constantly had to think about, you know, all the other information that's out there, you know, when I'm on Twitter or I read social media, and I wonder, you know, what is this, who's writing this? What is this information? Where is it coming from? What's the source? You know, Wikipedia, you know, like everyone refers to Wikipedia as like, but who enters the information? You know, what's the source? And so I have been, you know, for all these years that we've had social media, I've always been struggling with, you know, like what to believe. And then now, you know, as you know, in this year, especially during the pandemic, you know, all these conspiracies are coming out, and people believing in QAnon, all these different things. And it's, I do think we are in a really sort of new time where we are dealing with these challenges, and where people, I think, are very sort of, you know, insecure what to believe. I think people, I actually read somewhere in an article, people are, or, you know, a lot of reality is ambiguous, but people seem to be uncomfortable with ambiguity. And so, yes, you know, I really, what I hope comes across through his film is kind of the deeper layer of it, you know, how we're speaking, you know, to our time, the time we live in.
One last comment. I think it's very tragic and sad that Trump has created his own reality and he's always calling everybody else producers of fake news. So the concept of truth in the US has been shaken up. I'm suffocating in a way. Maybe that's what you refer as uncertainty.
No, I mean, it's really, this is exactly it. You know, we read, we have so much, or so many lies also, you know, right now in the news being replicated and being, you know, like I think the media has, it's been, you know, it's been unprecedented that an administration puts out so many lies. And so, you know, many journalists and publication houses are still, you know, struggling how to deal with it. You know, should they, you know, cover it even though they know it's, you know, and it's proven that it's not true? Should you, like, how, you know, also the social media, you know, how do you fact check things, and how do you present that information to the people? And that is, you know, I do think this film, you know, does, like, someone was saying, you know, it kind of sharpens your radar, your bullshit radar. And yeah, you know, what it took, you know, I can really speak for myself and my team. And I really, you know, want to emphasize this is an independent film, and this was, you know, this was real teamwork. You know, that, you know, my editor, Maxine Gödecke, she, you know, the way she has been working with, you know, all the material we had in the real documents, I think, with, and the sound, you know, the original sound we used with the, you know, the beautiful images that my cinematographer, Torsten Lapp, was using, or my, you know, composer, Inza Rudolph, you know, really, there are a lot of layers in the film, a lot of references to other films. And yes, you know, we really tried to, you know, tell a story that for us is a comment on the times that we're living and what we're dealing with today as citizens.